I never thought it would come to this. Not me. Not someone who had been in church their whole life. But it happened on a Tuesday morning. I remember it because it was so normal. No thunder, no lightning, just me, half awake, sipping bitter coffee while flipping through scripture out of habit. Not hunger. You ever do that? Go through the motions of devotion, and that's when it hit me. One line. One line from Jesus that cut through my routine like a blade. Remember Lot's wife. 3 words. That's all he said. No parable, no miracle, no lengthy sermon, just a haunting reminder from the Son of God. At first, I brushed it off. Lot's wife? I know that story. She looked back, she turned into salt. Yeah. But something wouldn't let me go. Have you ever felt scripture grab you, not gently, but like a hand reaching out from the page, shaking your soul? That line. It echoed. Remember Lot's wife. And then came the question that unraveled everything. Why would Jesus, in the middle of describing his return, stop and say, that? Not remember the flood, not remember Sodom, not remember Noah, just her, just Lot's wife. At that moment, I froze because I realized he wasn't just making a historical reference. He was issuing a warning for people like me. If you've ever felt like your walk with God has grown mechanical, if you've ever feared you're drifting without even realizing it, subscribe to this channel because this message isn't just mine, it could be yours too. That day, I didn't go to work. I couldn't. I stayed at home, trembling. I opened the Bible to Luke 17, and right there, around that one line, was the blueprint for the rapture. Yes, the sequence. Jesus wasn't vague. He was surgical. He laid it out clear. It would happen like in the days of Noah, people eating, drinking, marrying. In other words, life would feel normal, ordinary. And then it would happen suddenly. 2 people in one bed, one taken, one left. 2 women grinding at a mill, one taken, one left. And right in the middle of all that, remember Lot's wife. That's when I saw it. She wasn't taken by fire. She wasn't devoured by Sodom's sin. She wasn't swallowed by the ground. She was almost saved. She started the journey. She left the city, but her heart stayed behind. And that's when I broke. Because suddenly I wasn't just reading about her. I was her, living in the appearance of salvation, walking among the delivered. But quietly, without knowing, I was looking back at the comfort, at the routine, at the world I said I had left, and Jesus saw it before I ever did. Remember Lot's wife. It wasn't a casual statement, it was a diagnosis. You see, the terrifying truth of the line between taken and left isn't drawn by church attendance or Christian playlists. It's drawn by attachment, by what we still secretly long for, by what we're still not willing to surrender. Lot's wife didn't fall behind physically, she fell behind spiritually. And Jesus is telling us, many will do the same. If this is waking something up in you, don't ignore it. Like this video, share it, stay with me, because what Jesus revealed next shook me even deeper. I didn't sleep, not because of fear, but because I couldn't unsee what Jesus had shown me. Remember Lot's wife. That line was still ringing in my ears like a distant alarm, faint but persistent. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, wondering how long I'd been spiritually numb, how long I'd been looking back without even realizing it. And then something strange happened. Around 3 a.m. I got out of bed. Not because I wanted to, but because I felt pulled, like something or someone was inviting me into the silence. I grabbed my Bible, walked to the living room, and sat down in the dark, no worship music, no sermons playing, just silence. And I whispered, Lord, show me, what am I missing? Have you ever asked him that when no one else is watching? It's a dangerous prayer because he will show you, and he did, not in a vision, not in a booming voice, but in something so subtle it almost slipped past me. I opened back to Luke 17 and my eyes landed on one word, that night. Jesus said, that night, 2 people will be in one bed, one will be taken, the other left. Not that day, not that hour, but that night. And that's when the second piece of the puzzle clicked. The rapture, the separation, doesn't begin when the world is screaming. It begins when the world is sleeping, in the stillness, in the routine, in the moment when everything seems fine. It happens in a moment just like this one. Think about it. Lot's wife wasn't surrounded by destruction when she turned. No fire had touched her feet. She was already halfway out, already delivered, already safe. but her mind, her soul, her attachment was still with the old world. And suddenly I realized that's what Jesus meant. The true danger isn't what's behind you, it's what you're still willing to look back for. You see, we think the line between saved and unsaved will be obvious, but Jesus said it's like two people lying in one bed, two people working at one job. One disappears, the other stays. No chaos, no alarm, just gone. And the scariest part? Both thought they were safe. Let me ask you something. Who are you lying next to? Who are you walking with every day, assuming you're both going the same direction spiritually? Because Jesus wasn't just describing a moment, he was describing a mirror, two people doing the same thing, living the same life, but carrying very different hearts. If you're still watching, I want you to pause and ask, which one am I? Not out of fear, but out of holy clarity. And if this is stirring your spirit, hit that subscribe button. You're not here by accident. That same night, I flipped to Matthew 25. You know the parable, the 10 virgins, all waiting for the bridegroom, all with lamps, all expecting him, but only 5 had oil, only 5 were prepared. And when the midnight cry came, only 5 entered in, the others came too late. They were sincere, they were religious. Just they wanted in, but the door was already shut, and I sat there heart pounding as Jesus whispered again, that night, not that disaster, not that earthquake, not that war, that night, when it's quiet, when you're going through the motions, when your faith is just routine, that's when the cry comes, and only those who are awake on the inside will hear it. You see, the cry isn't external. It doesn't come through speakers or breaking news. It comes in your spirit. That unexplainable restlessness, that discomfort in conversations that used to excite you, that holy ache when you hear the word preached and you know he's speaking directly to you. That is the cry. And right now it's echoing across the world, not through volume, but through urgency. It's in the sighs of those who can't stand shallow sermons anymore. It's in the tears of those waking up in the middle of the night with a burden they can't explain. It's in you, right now, watching this video and realizing this is not a coincidence. If you're hearing that cry, drop a comment below. Let me know how God is stirring your spirit, because I promise you, you are not alone. And this community, it's a remnant. A people who refuse to sleep in the midnight hour. I didn't realize it then, but Jesus wasn't just warning me, he was calling me. Not to panic, not to perform, but to wake up. Because the rapture doesn't begin with noise. It begins in the night, and now that I could hear it, I had to respond. That following morning, something inside me had changed. I wish I could say I stood up, instantly transformed, ready to live with boldness and fire. But it wasn't like that. Instead, I felt exposed, like a layer of noise had been peeled away, and now I had to sit with what was really in me. I wasn't running towards sin. I wasn't out living wild, but I was asleep. And worse, I didn't even know it. Remember Lot's wife, that night, one will be taken, the other left. These weren't just Bible verses anymore. They were diagnoses, x-rays of my soul. And I finally saw what Jesus had been trying to tell me all along. I wasn't in danger of being bad. I was in danger of being lukewarm. And I'll tell you something most people won't. Lukewarm doesn't feel like rebellion. It feels like routine. You go to church, you say the prayers, you nod during sermons, you post Bible verses online, but inside, there's no fire, there's no ache, just autopilot. And the tragedy is, you don't even notice the oils run dry until the lamp won't light anymore. That morning, I didn't hear angels, I didn't see visions, but I did something scarier. I looked in the mirror and I asked honestly, God, would I be the one taken or the one left? There was no answer, not because God wasn't speaking, but because he already had, in his word, in that one line, in that one night. So I made a choice, and maybe you need to make it too. Not to be perfect, not to impress anyone, but to wake up, to take back the hours I gave to distraction, to confront the compromise I kept calling balance, to stop waiting for an emotional high and start building daily habits of fire. I started small. One morning, I got up 30 minutes earlier just to pray, not to impress God, but to listen, to be still enough to hear if the cry was still echoing. And you know what? It was. He was still whispering, still nudging, still separating, gently but firmly, those who were alert from those who weren't. And I need you to understand something. The door hasn't closed yet, but it will. not in a blaze of judgment, not in some catastrophic headline, but in the quietest moment of your week, maybe while you're scrolling, maybe while you're lying in bed beside someone who doesn't even know the storm is coming. And in that moment, there won't be time to get ready. You'll either be ready or you won't. That's why I had to share this, not to scare you, but to save you, because I truly believe this one line from Jesus was his final knock on my door. And maybe it's his knock on yours too. Maybe you felt it lately. The tears you can't explain, the hunger that's growing in you, the irritation with shallow things. That's not random. That's oil. That's preparation. That's Jesus calling you to come closer before the door shuts. If this video is your wake-up call, then don't just feel something, do something. Start praying again, not just reciting words, but pouring out. Read his words like they're alive, because they are. Cut off what's keeping you numb, delete it, walk away, break it off. Don't wait until the trumpet sounds, because it won't sound for everyone, just for those who've been listening all along. Let me leave you with this final question, and please don't just scroll past it. Are you carrying oil or just carrying a lamp? One looks ready. The other is ready. If you've stayed with me this far, I believe you're part of the remnant, the watchful, the hungry, the ones who don't want to just survive, but stand. Let's walk this narrow road together. Subscribe to this channel right now, not just so you don't miss the next video, but so you stay connected to truth in a world that's getting darker by the hour. Because Jesus didn't say, make sure you're excited. He said, be ready. And friend, the night is already here. So wake up, fill your lamp, and remember, the door isn't locked, but it won't stay open forever.